Hey Year 11, here we are again. Last lesson before your literature paper 2 exam. I can't believe it. We've done so much on it and we're just literally getting to the end now. Okay, just a quick video to go through some things, talk some things through. As I have been doing on the other ones. People have said they've been really handy, so I'm just getting them these videos done for you, so hopefully that helps. Okay, make notes as you go along, or if you want to do some revision on bits that I've said as I'm going through, that's entirely up to you. So the second paper has a Macbeth question, which is about 50 minutes. Okay, you'll get an extract like you always do, and you get the question. Then everybody listen to this, because this is where we messed up. You get 2 unseen poetry questions. One is a big marker, which takes about 30 minutes, and it's 24 marks. Then you stop and you do the small marker, which is 10 minutes only, even though it's a compare between the 2 poems, okay, which is 8 marks. Because it's a compare, if you finish your big mark question and then just compare the second poem, you turn your big mark question into a small mark question, which is what loads of people did on the last mock. Okay, so you do your Macbeth question, you then do the unseen poetry big question for about 30 minutes, and then you go to the small question where you look at both poems. Okay, only 10 minutes. Loads of people get tempted to spend more than 10 minutes. It's just not worth it, guys. It's 8 marks. Okay, 8 marks compared to the other 2 questions, which combined are 54 marks. Okay, that's insane. Please don't spend a long time on that last one. So let's start with Macbeth revision. 30 marks, 50 minutes in the exam. Okay, as always, you need to know the writer's intentions. If you don't know these, you are going to have a basic response. No matter what the question is, you should be able to go, right, I know why Shakespeare did that. That's because he wanted to show this, which is a writer's intention. Okay? So please make sure you know these writer's intentions so you've got them to hand. Another thing I quickly just want to say with Macbeth, actually, before I go on, is don't forget those keywords that we keep going on about with Macbeth. Okay? Macbeth is a tragic play. It's meant to start with a tragic hero, Macbeth, and then lead to his hamartia, his downfall. Remember, hamartia being like that part of his personality that let him down, that made him become weak. Okay, so it's his greed, it's his lust for ambition. That's his hamartia. Okay. We've done loads of success criterias. We've done loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of lessons on Macbeth. Okay, so go back to those if you need to. The lessons with the models are here, these first 2 links. So if you click on them, I've put the revision guide for Lit Paper 2 on this link here. So if you clicked it, it will take you straight to the Lit revision guides and walkthrough. Okay, but the one I also wanted to point out was something that I put on yesterday. Some of you have already noticed because you've asked me some questions. I've done you like a quick Macbeth revision notes thing. So characters, interpretations, key quotes, key words, key themes. Okay, I've put a couple of the previous year's questions on for you to have a look at, but obviously it'll be a different question. But here's some key ideas with Banquo. The fact that he's noble, he's questioning. Some people said they'd struggle if they got a Banquo question, so I thought this slide would be useful. Okay, some quotes that you might want to pick out. I haven't picked them out as significant quotes. You need to decide what your argument is and then develop them a little bit more. I've given you some analysis here. Okay, then I've done the same for Macduff. Remember, Macduff is the antithesis of Macbeth, so is Banquo. Okay, they're the opposites, the foil character. We've got the witches. Please don't say that the witches are all to blame or Lady Macbeth is all to blame. That's too narrow. We've talked about this before. Okay, the witches are unnatural. They go against God. If Macbeth had been a true Christian like Banquo, he should have just rejected what they said. If Macbeth had been a strong hero, like he was meant to be, a strong man in a patriarchal society, he should have rejected his wife and her manipulations. Okay, So don't just go kind of really cliche. Really think about that with regard to that. Shakespeare, if you think about it, at the time King James was under threat, wasn't he? Shakespeare is saying, listen to your gut, listen to your religion, have faith in God. Okay, don't listen to what other people say, because they might be turning you and dissuading you against what is right. Because remember, to be on the side of God is to be on the side of the king. Okay, again, we have some references, and you'll notice that I've put little links to BBC Bite Size as well, just to help you out. Macbeth, I think we should know Macbeth by now, but there's some there. Okay, there's Lady Macbeth, King Duncan, and then I've done some themes for you as well. So ambition and power, what could you say, appearance versus reality, evil, supernatural. There's some mock questions there. Okay, that should all come in helpful, and some themes as well. Okay, if you're thinking about it, think if they ask me to talk about appearance versus reality and I could talk about these things, which characters would I link it to? Which writer's intentions could that then link to as well? Okay, so this is just a helpful little Macbeth revision thing. You can have a look at it towards the end of the lesson. But also bear in mind that we did that mastery lesson where we looked through an abundance of quotations. Those that stayed after school as well for intervention definitely did, where we looked at a load of quotations. And we also talked about the myth at the end. Remember that loads of people said, oh, Macbeth doesn't care that Lady Macbeth dies at the end, whereas that's completely false. So if you can't remember that discussion, or you weren't there for that discussion, I would suggest go back to the literature lesson, okay, and look for the Macbeth Mastery. I've put the link on there anyway, but look for the Macbeth Mastery because it's on there. Okay, you can see it here, 21st of March. And at the end of that PowerPoint, there's loads of different quotes that we just went through and we talked through, just in case relationships is one. Yeah, they haven't been asked that yet, so it could potentially be the question that they ask this time. Planning, you know how to plan this now, guys. We've done this again and again. I know quite a few of you felt really confident after the Christmas Carol. Okay, the only one thing I want to just repeat is you are not proving whatever the question asks. Okay, you are saying how Shakespeare's shown the idea, like different ways that he shows it. Okay, and you are saying why Shakespeare is showing it that way, using quotes and keywords. So if it was Macbeth as a hero, you'd say, yeah, he does show Macbeth as a hero at the start of the play. He shows it through the discussion of higher level leaders, and then you'd use the captain's quote, Valor's minion. They show it through his violent actions on the beside of God. Okay, so you'd maybe talk about when they were talking about like the steam coming off with the his sword with the blood. Okay, all those different things, and then you'd say, however, later in the play, and then you talk about that to develop your answer and talk about why he's not a hero. Like he kills Duncan, he goes against God, he's deceptive. He's a horrendous leader. He doesn't value the Christian faith as a leader. He doesn't put his people first. All these different things, but you'd have quotes to support that. So remember, it's not a case of is this true? It's how is this true? To what extent is this true? Okay. And just look for that word effect as well. So what's the effect of Macbeth as a tragic hero? Okay, well, he starts off as a hero. What's the effect of him as a hero? What does it make characters think about him? But how do characters' opinions change once he becomes a tragic hero? So Macduff would be a fantastic one to use for that. The way that his perception changes. He doesn't respect Macbeth anymore. He sees Macbeth as a villain now. Okay. Just some things to think about with that word effect. You know what you need to do with this. Okay. I've put you a little model on there as well, just for you to have a look at. This one is the importance of Macbeth and ambition. You've seen this one before. There are other models which are on those links that I've shown you. Okay, And just remember, with the extract, make the extract work for you. Okay, so think about what the question is, roughly plan your answer. If the extract is at the beginning of the play, amazing, use the extract first. If the extract's towards the end of the play and you'd rather talk about him at the beginning first, then do that. Okay, totally fine to do that, remember. Your argument needs to be clear so the examiner understands what you're saying. So you use that extract to either do the first analysis, AO1, AO2, AO3, or your second analysis, AO1, AO2, AO3. Okay, I always say try and do it in the right order of the play, because otherwise it becomes confusing. Okay, so for example, if I'm using tragic hero again, but if the question is about Macbeth being a tragic hero and the extract is at the end of the play when he's clearly not, then it'd become confusing if you use the extract first, because then you'd say Macbeth is presented as a tragic hero because in the extract he is deceitful, he is this. Well, that's not a tragic hero, is it? He's got to be a hero before he's a tragic hero. So it would make more sense if I talked about him as a hero at the beginning, did all my analysis with that, and then went to the extract and talked about how he is no longer a hero and therefore he's a tragic hero and this is why. Okay, talking about his downfall. And I've said about this, Stacey Ray on Sunday night, especially on Instagram, did a really good live feed, guys, with chat, and it's all broken down. Okay, where she went through all the different things that you could say about Macbeth and different characters and different themes. She even did some suggestions for unseen poetry. She actually did some good bits for language, paper 2, question 5 as well. So it's worth having a little look at that. If you just sat there tonight and you're thinking, like, I don't know what to revise for this, I've done my sentence starters, I know my quotes, I've done the sentence starters for the 2 unseen poetry bits, bang on Stacey Ray and have a little look at her ideas, or just see like the headlines and think, right, I don't need to watch the Macbeth one because I know that one. Macduff, have I got enough on Macduff? I might just listen. And I think they're only like 2 minutes. I would really suggest them. Okay. And there's little practice questions and things like that. You can just click on the links and you can do that in the lesson as well. Either look through that last PowerPoint or not. Right, let's get to the unseen. No complaining about this now. You've done quite a few lessons on the big marker with Miss Cowper. You've done the small marker with Miss Bamber, and you've done them both with me as well. Okay, they are both in the revision guides. I've tweaked the sentence starters so they're even better on these slides. And that's what you've been using for the last couple of weeks. Oh, there should be an I on that. It won't change it on yours, but it'll change it on mine, so I'll feel better. Oh, look, it's hiding the I from me. Let's not get distracted. There we go. What I want you to think of is that it is like a language paper question, okay? You know how to use impact, or you should, okay? This is like a language paper question. You get a source. In this case, it's just a poem, so what? And all you have to do is prove whatever the question asks you in the source. It's a bit even easier than an impact question, okay? So let's have a look at the sentence starters. The sentence starters are literally impact that you would use for a basic impact question. So like paper 1 question 2, paper 2 question 3, not even the hard question 4. Okay, and you do 1 through on the end. Now, if you don't have time to do the through, it's not the end of the world, but remember, for those that are wanting that top mark and now pushing for that top band, you have to do language, form, and structure. Okay, language, form, and structure, which is why I always suggest that your first language pack is talking about like the narrative voice, if it helps you. Because if you do that, then you've done form. So who's the narrative voice? Who's the voice of the poem? How does that help you understand whatever it is? And then you can just do the use of allows you to understand. Here, you can see this in the quote, connotation 1 and 2, about. We've done that a million times. Maybe a different method. And then a quick bit about through. It starts on this. Does it shift? If it does, why? If it doesn't, why? Okay, remember we did this with the songs as well, the pop songs and attitudes to love and things like that. Okay, we've practiced this a lot. I've also given you a model answer for you to look through. This one was 24 out of 24. Obviously, you just need to scroll down, guys, to finish reading it. Okay, but it's a really nice, clear model for you to have a look at. And there's some practice questions on there as well. Now, you looked at these with Miss Cowper previously, and you've looked at them with me, and you've looked at them with Miss Bamber. And there's some little practice bits. If you click on this link, it says page 21 to 24. Okay, here it gives you a poem, and then it gives you a practice question. So in Walk Away, how does the poet present the speaker's feelings about his child? So all I would do would have a look at this. I've already looked at the title, Walking Away. That makes me sound like the child's not necessarily somebody who he can look after anymore, or maybe the child has to have some independence now. Okay, then I start to look at this. It's 18 years ago, almost to the day, a sunny day with leaves just turning and touchlines new ruled since I watched you play. So if he's 18 years old now, yeah, then he's not a baby, he's not a child, so maybe the parents reflecting on that. And he's thinking about when he used to watch him play. He's probably older than 18, isn't he, if he was playing when he was 18 years ago. Your first game of football then, like a satellite wrenched from its orbit, go drifting away behind a scatter of boys. I can see you walking away from me towards the school, with the pathos of the half-fledged thing set free into a wilderness, the gait of one who finds no path where the path should be. That hesitant figure, edgy away like a winged seed loosened from its parent stem, has something I never quite grasped to convey about nature's give and take, the small, the scorching ordeals with fires one irresolute clear. I have had worse partings, but none that so gnaws in my mind still. Perhaps it is roughly saying that God alone could perfectly show how selfhood begins in a walking away, and love is proved in the letting go. Okay, so if the question is how does the poet present the speaker's feelings about his child, then I would definitely say that he loves his child, he cares for his child, and he worries for his child as his child becomes more independent. He doesn't want his child to become more independent, but he allows it to happen because he understands that he has to. And then I'd use things like this, how selfhood begins with a walking away. Selfhood, like being yourself. Love is proved in the letting go. Okay? I would not say that he's just letting his kid go, because he's still talking about it. He's just saying, it just shows how much he loves his child, because he's saying, like, the kid walking away after a football match and going to the school and just kind of not running back to his dad like he usually did. That's bothered his dad, like his dad still remembers that. Okay, so I just find different ways to talk about it. Okay. And it's 18 years almost to the day. A sunny touch with leaves just turning. So I'd say it maybe starts with like the dad at the football match, talking about these the memory, and it finishes with the dad reflecting on the memory. So what was the impact of that memory? So has it got a shift? Has it not? Why do you think the writer's done that? Okay, I would personally say it doesn't really have a shift, because he's reflecting on the on like walking away from the child, or the child walking away from him, even having that independence at the start, and then he reflects on it at the end and understands how important that is at the end, because it hasn't changed. He's still having to let his child do that. Okay, so that's what I do for question 1. I'd use those sentence starters. It might be worth giving that practice just over this lesson and having a go at that. And then for the next question, the small question, the one we are only spending 10 minutes on, the 8-mark question, okay, where we do form, a quick language and a quick structure if we've got time. If we haven't, just do form and maybe one pack. It doesn't matter. Okay, and I've done your model there. Then you could go back to this and you could do, right, I've done walking away. That was the big marker. There's a second question there. Second poem. And it says, in Catherine, how does the poet present the speaker's feelings about method? So I could practice and practice and practice, go through, and then later he has the comparative questions. Okay, so I could compare some later on. If you go to the AQA website, which I've put you a little link for, okay, you can bring up the past papers and have a look. So if you see paper 2 right at the top, Okay, we're looking at section C, which is page 20, 21. And there's a big question. I'm offering you this poem. How does the poet present the speaker's feelings about love? And then there is the little question. In the first poem and in the new poem, how do they present feelings about love? Either similar or different. Now, this is beautiful, and this is why people get mixed up, though, because it's asking you basically the same question. You'll think, I've already done that for the big marker. Okay? But you need to start again as if you were talking about the first poem, as if you haven't talked about it before. Okay? Because all you are doing is comparing it. In the first poem, feelings about love is described as this. Similarly, or differently, in the second poem, love is described as this. I can see this from the viewpoint of the first poem because it says this. I can see this from the viewpoint of the second poem as it says this. Okay, then going into keyword analysis. The first poem shows the view about love because it uses this quote. The keyword 1 and 2 connotes such and such. This allows me to understand that love is feelings about love is shown as this. However, or similarly, in poem 2, this quote is used to show feelings about love. The keyword this connotes 1 and 2 about. This allows us to understand that the speaker feels that love is. That's it. Okay, then bang a through in there if you've got time, or a structural comment if you've got time. But that's it, guys. That's how quick this one should be. Okay, whereas your previous one, which yes was the same question, should be more detailed. Okay, because you've got more time for it. Again, I'm going to say this again. If you answer this question in full and it's a top mark answer, you're going to get 24 out of 24, and then you just carry on to question 2 and don't leave a gap and don't start again. You just say, however, in poem 2, love is presented as, then you have changed your 24 marker question into a 4 marker question. Okay, because you have turned that massive answer into now your comparative answer, which is only for that poem worth 4 marks out of the 8. Okay, so this is why, I don't know, I'm saying it again and again, but it's down to you now to remember. We've messed this up a couple of times on mocks and practices. Okay, big marker, answer the question, leave a gap, small marker, compare both poems as though you hadn't talked about it beforehand. Okay, and that, guys, is it. That's the full lit paper. Okay, I'm really excited to hear what the questions are. You guys were amazing last time. Got loads of emails telling me what their questions were. Some of them were so detailed. You could tell me they extracted everything. Really good luck. You really, really deserve to do well in this. You know what you need to say. Okay, if you're doing the graft, then you will do well. Okay, thinking of the bigger picture for Macbeth. But you don't have to even worry about writer's intentions for unseen. It's not like that. It's just an impact. It's just like a language question. Okay, it's just like, how is this shown? Okay, and that's it, guys. That's our last ever lit session, lit lesson. Okay, you've got the rest of the lesson now to crack on. Do Macbeth revision using those notes. Do poetry practice using the notes that I've suggested. It's all there and all in place for you. Miss Bamber's there to help you. Okay, and I should be just on the end of an email if you want to pop something to me quickly, which I know quite a few you like to do. Okay, good luck, guys. Sending all my love. See you, pups. Bye.